Welcome. This podcast is an exploration into being human and what's possible when there's less attention on the noise in our heads. Warning: while listening to this broadcast, you may experience moments of deep peace, sighs of relief, personal insights, or long stretches of dead air. Do not be afraid. This is normal. Under the Noise with Win Morgan and Kate Roberts. Welcome to this week's episode of Under the Noise with me, Win Morgan, and my ever-radiant co-host, Kate Roberts.
Oh, that was good.
You liked ever-radiant?
Super good. That might be my favorite.
Excellent.
That might be my favorite.
Oh, it wasn't even rehearsed. I didn't think of it until...
No, I can tell. I can tell. It was awesome. Yay.
Cool. And true. So, my ever-radiant friend, you had an idea about what we would talk about today.
I did. And even though I know we've got some recordings in the bag to put up, I think this will be the next one because it has to do with creating change in the new year. So Happy New Year, Win.
Happy New Year and Happy New Year to you listening.
Okay, so wow. I am not a big resolutions person. That's never really interested me. I don't dislike resolutions. It just doesn't occur to me in the new year to make big decisions or try to change things. But this year, I kind of wanted to sit in some things, and I thought it might be a cool topic to explore since I'm exploring it for myself. And some really interesting things showed up around it. So there's some new habits that I would love to, and I use that word habit very loosely in this because that could probably be its own episode, right? I would love to create some new things. And part of that includes space for some really exciting things happening in my life. But I found that as I was exploring what that looks like, realistically, what that looks like to create time and energy and focus for these new things, and what changes would need to kind of happen to do that. I found that I was looking at behavior as a gauge, as a motivator, as I was using my behavior and my thinking around my behavior as the come from on what needs to change and how it can change. And I'll give you an example. Let's see. I know that I work better in the morning. And yet I can snooze for a very, very long time. I'm talking about a ridiculous amount of snoozing. I don't even think I'm really deeply sleeping, but I'm not fully awake. I'm in this place. And I've had this story that it's wrong. It's shameful that it takes me this long to wake up. That it's a serious problem. It's affecting how much I can get accomplished in the day. I don't get my beautiful time to myself in the morning when I do it. It's a problem in my personal thinking. And that's the come from. And now I'm looking at my behavior. I'm judging it, judging me, deciding it needs to be different. And that is where I'm coming from and trying to create anything different around getting up at a certain time to create more space for the things that I love working in the morning. Like a 3:30 wake up. If I'm up, I get my morning time, I get my like work done, I get hours done before like things kind of start to roll, right? I love that time. I'm super productive after that time. And yet I'm not doing it, not consistently enough that I like to do it. But I've decided it's a problem, and that's my come from. And that's what I'm looking at to decide what to change in the new year and how to create space. So the come from is this is a problem. I'm doing it wrong. But creating space feels really good. Doing that work and getting up early, I love it. Once I'm actually up, let's be honest. The getting up part, not so much. Okay. Now, once I'm up and I've got my coffee in my hands, I am good to go. I'm perfect.
Was that 3:30 a.m. serious? Is that the time?
Oh no, I'm absolutely serious. Like it's a gorgeous space for like just my quiet time in the morning before, and then I could get hours of work done before, I don't know, before I go to a class or whatever. Or some other job, right? So yeah. But I bumped into my own thinking that it's a problem. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to create from that space. Like I add more thinking to it, right? And now I'm not moving forward and creating change.
So I want to understand, right?
Okay, go for it.
And I think the examples help. But let me see. Let's see if this is what you mean.
Okay.
That you making it a problem would give you the motivation to change.
I don't know if I decided that or that's part of just my personal habitual thinking over and over again. Oh, I should get up early. I should have done this. I could have done this if I had gotten up early. Like there's a lot wrapped up in that for me, a lot of thinking on it.
Yeah.
And I know that overthinking and my behavior isn't the direction to look in. Like I know that. And that's what I'm bumping into. But that's my come from.
So you know that it's not the direction.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. Because I slam on the brakes and I'm like, that's not it. That's not where I want to look. And that's not where I want to come from. So I know that so much that I will slam on the brakes and now I haven't changed anything at all.
So in your mind, what is the come from?
So, okay, I'll tell you this. I was coming to the end of a journal. It's very rare that the end of my journal ends at a year. That's literally coincidence, right? So I'm going in and I'm grabbing an empty one to start one, right? Right towards the beginning of the year. I maybe had a couple pages left. But I was like, okay, maybe I'll start a new one. And I end up looking into this journal that was from 2019. It's like the end of 19. And I had run into the principles that the beginning of 19. That was really kind of when it started for me. And I looked at what I was writing and I had all these things. I had pasted all these quotes and all these cool things in there. Like I was on fire. I had a year of like, I'm changing. So like I was just being changed by the principles and kind of looking in that direction. And I start reading my journals, right? And I'm looking at all these things that I've pasted in. And I am going to sort of quote, mess up a quote, and it does have language in it. But one of the things that I had pasted in was a quote from Mike O'Neill that basically was pointing to the fact that we are the infinite potential of the entire fucking universe. So when you ask me that question, what's the come from? Like, what could I not do if I knew that? Like if I'm infinite potential and I know that I am, at least a little, that's the come from. Because everything's possible there. And that's what I know to be true to some extent, I know. And I saw it and I knew that to be true. And I was like, why wouldn't I be able to do anything that I thought was a cool place to play in a new year if I knew that? That's the comfort. So I'm like, ooh, okay, what do I want to do? And then that's where this conversation came from, because I bumped right into, this is a problem. This is hard for me. I don't know how to get up early. I ran right into my thinking about it. And I was like, it was like the brakes just, I slammed on the brakes. And that's why I thought it would be a fun conversation, because that's the ultimate come from for me. Like infinite intelligence as support. And I'm part of that. If I want to play in a world where I don't even set an alarm and I literally wake up at 3:30 in the morning ready to go, that is possible. I have limited myself. I know it. Because I read something like that and I know that feeling of truth. And that's the truth. Is that I am infinite potential. And I'm freaking human. And I slam on the brakes. Oh my gosh, it's so silly.
Yeah. What was the quote, I think, from Jack Pransky? I think it's something like, we're the infinite potential of the entire universe with the ability to think that we're not.
Just like that.
Just like that. Just like that. So that said, where would you love to take this conversation?
Oh, no, Win.
Oh, yes, Kate.
I have no idea. It's like I got the gas and the brakes going all at the same time right now. I don't even know if a car can do that. I don't ever want to try, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, it can.
Where would you like to take it?
The bit that I noticed that what I do, and I've heard a lot of people, and there's different words, I think, to what you're pointing at here, is that in order for me to make a change, things out there in my life need to be a certain way first. Or I'll be ready when, or I'll wait until not January the 1st, because I'll have been up on January, on December the 31st, so I'll be late. So January the 1st is a terrible idea, and therefore it's the 2nd. But wait, no, 2nd is a Thursday, and a Thursday's a bad day for it. Oh, shoot, best time to do stuff is a Sunday. And it's just all of, including 3:30 a.m., by the way. So that's what made that come to life when you said that. Like 3:30 is the magic hour, right? All of those things that it's easy, for me anyway, to look like it needs to be that way. My ducks need to be in a row in order for me to ... fill in the blanks of whatever it is I need to change.
Give me an example. What's an example of that?
Well, here's an example, because you caught me as we were saying hello before recording. I'm doing a juice fast right now.
I was like, are you on a cleanse?
Are you on a juice cleanse? Yes, I am. Coming towards the end of day 3 out of 5. I didn't go for the 7-day this time. 5 days is good enough for me. Because I know I've been eating a lot of stuff that I wouldn't normally eat. I let myself November and December. I'd like to just say over the Christmas break, but I'd be fibbing because I think I started eating a lot of carbohydrates and ultra-processed foods way back in November on one trip to the US. And I'm not blaming the US for that, by the way, just to say I'm taking total responsibility for it. And then I ordered the juice fast back on, I think they ordered it on New Year's Eve. And then I was playing with when I'd start. And it arrived on Friday. I thought, well, first juice is meant to be at 8 a.m., so I won't start on Friday. And then I had a bit of a head cold. And I thought, well, I'm not going to start it when I got a head cold. I mean, feed a cold, and I know I need to eat a lot of spicy Indian food in order for my head cold to be okay. And I'm like, well, it's just bad timing, right? And I noticed, wait a minute. Think of all the obstacles when you're now putting in place to stop you starting. And, the boxes hadn't arrived yet with the juices in. And I went, Friday night, I went, okay, if I'm not feeling worse tomorrow morning, I'm starting. And I just woke up and I went, okay, I'm doing it. But it didn't feel like, it wasn't the, come on, you should, or, it wasn't a problematic thing. It was a very free in my mind, which I really liked. It's from, okay, I'm doing it now. It was that kind of decision. It was a very easy decision to make on Saturday morning. Okay, starting now. Not going to have my extra spicy lamb vindaloo tonight because that's my regular go-to, my extra. I couldn't eat that if I didn't have a cold. It's way too spicy, but when I got a cold, I'll kill it. And it kills me back and it really gets rid of it.
That's
clears the sinuses and everything, right? But it's funny that, and I hear a lot from people, and you and I are the same way, that we put things in place thinking that they are, that's the platform for change to happen. When change is, to me, just a decision, it's the same as, I don't know, do I take the 10:20 in from Maidenhead to London or the 10:40 in from Maidenhead into London if I've got a meeting at noon? No different. But do I agonize about that? If I'm sitting on the sofa with my second cup of coffee in the morning and I then think, okay, when do I brush my teeth now in order for me to leave on time to get to 10:20 or the 10:40? I'll agonize over that. I'll agonize over what socks to wear on a day that I'm only going to ever be on Zoom. It will. And this morning I was looking at which socks do I wear? And I'm going, who cares? My feet don't have eyes. It's really funny how thought can look that real, that we need things to look a certain way, feel a certain way, be a certain way in order for us to do anything. Here's another weird example, right? You talked about journal just now. I have a notebook that I write in what appointments I've got that day, and I jot down anything that's memorable for the next time. And my previous notebook was coming towards its end in the middle of December, and I thought, well, this isn't good. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna write small and vertical to make sure I make it last until the 21st of December, which is my last working day, so I can then have a brand new notebook in January. And I thought, who cares? Then I went, what do I care? And then I looked at the page and I went, there's no way I can read that. So I just started on December the 20th then with my new notebook.
Oh, and you literally put a sticky note of when it starts.
Oh, yeah, because I've got, I don't know how many of these. They last probably about 4 or 5 months, each of these. And the sticky notes are there just so I can think, okay, well, if someone said, so did we have a session on June the 20th? 2002? Let me look at my notebook. Not that it's ever happened, but it, keeps me happy.
Just in case.
Just in case. Just in case. Or did you, misquote me or anything like that? And someone might come back and say, you said this to me. And I thought, yeah, I don't think I did. Well, this might have some evidence to back that up. So that's why it's useful.
Oh, I seriously doubt that anyway, but go ahead.
I know. But I was meant to be a little bit jokey, right? But if you're watching on the video, yes, there's a sticky. But I just saw so much freedom in, I could start this at any time. And you know what came back to my mind? One of the most recent episodes that we did was with Dr. Aaron Turner.
Yeah.
And effectively, what I remember I heard in that, with all my audio difficulties that I was having that day that I've since confessed to you about.
When? You weren't supposed to tell anyone.
Yeah, well, too late. My New Year's resolution, I'm going to be an awful lot more open and have no secrets.
Oh.
Meant to be a joke. But what I remember I got from that is that it was the clean slate that it can happen in any moment. It's not dependent upon this arbitrary date that we've made up, that is the first of the year, and then we turn the number to 2025. Which, of course, to me then, I remember even writing in my December, now we're a quarter of the way through. This is going to be the quarter of the way through this new 100 years and all that kind of stuff. And it was totally arbitrary. I mean, it's fun to play with. But does it mean anything more than that? No. No more than the number 6 is a better number than the number 14. Totally arbitrary. So the fact that this says December the 20th, no different than whether it was January the 1st. No different whether I'm wearing my hedgehog socks that my mother got me for Christmas, or my regular black socks, or any other socks I've got. It doesn't matter. But do I believe that half the time? No. It's to be a certain way. I need to have my ducks in a row in order for things to work out the way I want them to. Or for me to take a leap of faith into doing something different. Funny. I love noticing that the freedom is at any moment is a fresh moment. Nothing fixed. Nothing out there that needs to be a certain way in order for it to be the right time or the right circumstance. That's just what I think.
You know what you just said? At the end about the clean slate that's always available. For me, it creates a feeling that I associate with hearing something that's true for me. And it's the same with the Michael Neal quote. It comes with a feeling. And no matter what words you put to it, it's that feeling that I want to create from if I am creating change. That's the come from, is that feeling. That's what I want to come from. To create anything. Even if I decide not to change anything. But I'll tell you this, and this is something I haven't brought up yet. One of the things that occurred to me when I realized how much thinking I had on it and how I bumped right into my old thinking on things and slammed on the brakes, right? Was how often have I done something different, created something new, changed something in my life from a place of knowing that nothing needs to be changed, that there's a perfection and timing in my life and insight and knowing. And out of that was born this new understanding that it's not just that feeling of truth that I want to create from, but also a knowing that I don't need to change anything. And that there is a perfection to life that I often don't see. But rather than create something new or different from a place of this is a problem and I'm getting it wrong, and this is the behavior that's going to fix that feeling, How amazing could it be to create something from the knowing of life's perfection and also this quiet feeling of truth? Like, what could be born from that? And then, as icing on that, the realization that there's infinite possibilities on what that might look like, how it can happen. What if I knew that? Like, what if I really knew that? What if everyone knew? How would the world be different? Right? But you know, one of my like you just heard it. Everyone just heard it. It's like one of my kind of sneakiest ways that my personal mind gets into it is always downplaying what I've seen and what I know. Like if I didn't know it at all, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Sometimes I think we know so much more than we give ourselves credit for knowing or seeing.
When you were talking, there's another quote from Michael Neal that I will not remember exactly how it's said, but it's in the book, The Inside Out Revolution. I can't believe it. I just realized that's coming up to 12 years since that was published now. The Inside Out Revolution, 12 years. And there's a sentence in there that says something like this: putting pressure on ourselves to achieve something is the equivalent of hitting ourselves over the head with a hammer and then feeling the relief when we stop.
Mm.
I will make up a problem feel bad in order that when I fix the problem I didn't even recognize I made up, then I will feel better. Just like I did before I made up the problem.
We're so funny.
That's mental spiral that we get into, right? Innocently as people, just because as humans thought looks really real to us. It's so funny. It is so funny. And then what you just said is then when we're onto it and onto ourselves and see a little bit more about life and how we work, and remember our humanity as well as that infinite potential of the entire universe, all in one. I think that's what makes it such a cool ride. This thing called life. And then we can create what we want to create, and sometimes it'll work and come off, and sometimes it won't, and it's not predictable. And if it were predictable, where would the fun be in that? I don't know. I try to make things predictable, and therefore it has to be a certain way, and then, it's going to be then that this is how it'll play out. And of course, you can never know the future. It's unknowable. Not knowing has more aliveness in it. And the feeling that you were talking about, the feeling of that come from has more aliveness in it, and the resonance of truth. That's one of our episodes sometime in the last 50, I think. I know. I just think it's really cool to remember that it's always a clean slate, and that includes everything about us. And then the experience of life becomes so much sweeter and simpler. When I know I'm experiencing it as opposed to getting it right.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Under the Noise. I'm Kate Roberts. What's my adjective again? What did you call me?
Ever radiant, I think it was. Yes, ever radiant.
I think I'll have to come up with a different one for you. And this is my amazing, I'll stick with amazing today, and then I'll see what comes out of the next one. My amazing co-host, Wynn Morgan. Happy New Year to you all, and we hope you have a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have a topic or question that you'd like us to chat about, email Wynn or Kate at wynn@winning.co.uk and Kate at katerobertscoaching.com. Until then, enjoy what's possible under the noise.